Hey, what's up? I'm a diagnosed narcissist, and I wanted to talk again about my experiences. Yes, my experiences. I am not a licensed professional, so keep that in mind as I go along with whatever I'm about to say. But anyway, there's something that I've been thinking for quite some time in relation to my narcissistic personality disorder and my sense of self and my identity and all that kind of stuff. I guess the main question I have about people that are more or less considered mentally healthy is how exactly do you balance an inner, I guess, like an inner notion of yourself versus the outward notion of yourself. So I guess you versus your reputation, quote unquote, because we exist in a world where we're supposed to have, you know, quote unquote, like a healthy sense of self, or what people just call like an identity or knowing who they are, quote unquote. I don't really get that because I was thinking about something that I said, I believe, while I was on my video with Nameless Narcissist on his channel, where I said, I guess it doesn't really matter how you view yourself because that's not going to matter to like the outward, the outer world is what I mean. Yeah, like outward of your like inner perception. And then again, people will come at you if they perceive you as insecure. Let's say they'll come at you if they think, oh my gosh, you're weak, you're afraid, and you're vulnerable. But yeah, that's the whole thing that's like super confusing to me. Because I always kind of found it as like this weird sort of like paradox where if you are an insecure person and people, for example, are telling you to stand up for yourself, aren't you doing that because someone else is telling you to do that? And I know people can like wiggle around it by saying things like, oh, you should want to do it for yourself. But it's like, it's still coming from the outside, quote unquote. But then people will also tell you not to be, too full of yourself because then that's narcissistic, then that's arrogant. Oh, then you can't grow because you're stuck in this like linear thought sort of thing. So then, what are you supposed to do? Like, I feel like if there is no straightforward answer to this, then it's kind of just a lie. Because I think what I've noticed from like a lot of people is that when they don't actually have a straightforward or like direct answer to something, they'll just be like, oh, there's a lot of nuance to it, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a case by case basis. And it's like, yeah, okay, I get that. But then again, then what, is this question meaningless? Then why did you care to even answer it to begin with? Because if you're going to say it's case by case, then obviously you are saying more or less it's this or more or less it's that. But then again, why isn't there a straightforward answer then? Because if there is such a thing as average or like specific patterns, if you can separate, let's say, somebody that's like more or less okay and somebody that has narcissistic personality disorder, if we're talking about this category, NPD, and someone that doesn't have NPD, then why wouldn't anyone be able to like answer this question for me? Because to me, I think it very much is straightforward in regards to I can either only look after myself and care about what I want regardless of what anyone thinks, or I lower myself and I only care about what other people think and I shape myself up to be the standard in which they think is a healthy person, a good person, whatever it may be. I don't understand how you're supposed to like incorporate that both unless you mix and match, quote unquote, I guess. But then like how do you know when to like mix and match, let's say? Because the world is strange because it operates on this basis where what majority of people say is regarded as the truth, because there's power in numbers. Like if you live in the world long enough and you like notice society, yeah, there's power in numbers in that regard. But then there's also a narrative where you're supposed to have your own individuality, you're supposed to have like your own, I guess, will or like whatever, and you're supposed to just balance this together, quote unquote. Or it's like to somebody that feels like they have like a self, like how do you like approach this notion? Like how do you know when to see yourself like outside of yourself in what in terms of what people are saying versus, oh, this is somebody trying to take control of you. This is someone to like, trying to like, get power over you. It doesn't really like, like make sense, because I feel like to me it's as straightforward as if you are influenced by external factors, then they've managed to manipulate you. If you haven't, then you're only looking after yourself. So I think it's clear as day that in my mind that like, okay, you're either the submissive or the superior. You're either the one in control or like you're, the subordinate. So I find it strange that people think that they do have a sense of self. And I understand that at this point I might just be projecting onto like other people or whatever. I mean, whatever. I'm like open to the discussion, quote unquote. That's just how I personally sort of like see it. Because to me, it just seems like people are just throwing stuff at random. You might say it's nuance, you might say it's like case by case or something like that, but I mean, I don't know, like I can't fathom it. So I kind of just feel like people are just like fucking around who they think they are, who they think we are. It's just like a random joke. And I mean, it only stops in death, basically. It only stops in death. So I, yeah, I don't know. Like it's hella confusing to me that being, let's say, somebody thinking you're too full of yourself makes you, you know delusional and narcissistic, so therefore that's not a good thing. But people will also say that being a pushover is also not a good thing because it shows that you have no backbone. But yet people will use both of these narratives seemingly only when it benefits them in the situation. So which one is it? Because to me it just comes across that like, okay, all of our personalities are, like facades and they're lies and they're just made up cope based on the situation. Like that would be my only nuance to it. Like based on the situation, which cope would be better, but none of it is actually real.